So I begin again. I'm delighted to share some thoughts on food and spirituality. You here in Suvarnamukhi Samskriti Dhama, and I both are here now for this presentation. And I would now plunge into the topic proper. In these days, when more and more of us are appreciating a holistic approach to very many topics, including our own health. By holistic approach, we mean an integrated approach where we see the whole. We see our own body and mind as consisting of many parts, many aspects. And what makes the approach holistic is we want to take into consideration the operation of the whole coming together of body and mind, of various systems, of the divisions in the human personality, because we recognize basically certain, rather than looking at digestive system and neural system, how the brain works and so on, cardio system, and so many other words we hear in the medical language, rather than looking at them as standalone units, as unconnected with each other. We are not saying modern medicine looks at all of them totally unconnected, but generally the approach of modern medicine is to take a certain problem and go very much into it, the symptoms, and help the patient come out of some suffering as regards that part or that system is concerned. And it's so focused over there that to an extent, if not more, the role of many other aspects of the personality is neglected. So holistic approach rather tries to see how our thoughts may influence, emotions may influence our health, and the other way around also, how our health may influence our thoughts and emotions. And it is against this backdrop, such a backdrop of interrelationship with different aspects of how we live, how our body and mind work, that this evening we are considering this topic of food and spirituality. Now, many of us in diabetic, we know very well that sugar is dangerous to us. We try to avoid especially white sugar, and we think that it is only sugar that matters. But slowly we realize that our diabetes is better handled when we manage our food in several aspects of the matter. Whether we take food same timings for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or we take food in an erratic fashion. Sometimes breakfast is at 7:30 a.m. and some other time it can be as late as 10:30, 11. Then we laugh and say, today this is brunch. By laughing and using some fancy word, it doesn't really help us. Dinner is as early as 7, sometimes 7 p.m. Sometimes in many Indian homes it is 9:30, 10 p.m. Now, of healthy habits of living, it is acknowledged that early dinner and giving a reasonably long gap between dinner of the previous evening and breakfast of the next morning is very conducive to better health. So in this holistic approach, whether we exercise regularly, whether we do pranayama, which is a breathing exercise, regularly, even to a little extent, whether we meditate, all these are brought to bear on our health. Of course, I'm not going to talk more about health. I am here to talk about food and spirituality. But health is related to spirituality in its own way. When we are fit, when we are having reasonable good health, of course, we can study more, we can listen to pravachans without back pain or that headache or this, lack of energy and so on. Of course, we do not want to give undue importance to physical health, but it certainly has a great degree of importance. In the light of that, food and spirituality are very much interconnected. When I gave this topic, Vani softly said to me, I had myself talked on this ago or a year ago. I had forgotten, but when she said that, I remembered, yes, 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 I had spoken. But then, after some thinking about it, I said to her that I would like to speak on this again because surely I would not have touched upon certain aspects and dimensions which I myself did not know at that time. And this evening, as I face all of you, I have many other interesting things to uh, have learned over the length of time. In fact, we do hear from reports from around the world. Some Japanese scientists, for example, researched. We got reports of them through the media, of course, and we have reason to believe that some of these reports are very genuine. Sorry, of course, media may have sometimes a lot of fake reports and all kinds coming towards us, which is not based on proper scientific research. But this piece indeed had something that we would very much trust. The Japanese scientists found that upavasa, in our country, in our Hindu tradition, upavasa, fasting on Ekadashis. That means every fortnight there is a day where, if not for the whole day, one fasts in the evening, doesn't take anything or take something very light, and so on. And the Japanese scientists have uh, confirmed that certain gap to be given for the whole digestive system at even cellular level, it is said that they need some rest. We laymen, without knowing much of the biology or all these cellular level functions, all the same, well, I heard with much curiosity, I read certain stuff about what is called autophagy. So autophagy is a very, another time probably I will share more material as I study more. But right now I have much pleasure in sharing with you that autophagy is a certain process in a cell where the cell has the intelligence to shut down some of the parts of its own functioning to provide for. And this kind of cellular phenomena, it is said, can do a cleanup process. So at a cellular level, the body's cellular cleanup process, recycling of damaged components. That's what Google also says. There's a definition of autophagy. Recycling of damaged components to boost energy and promote repair. You and I use a range of equipment, and we know whether it's a car or a refrigerator or a washing machine, you name it. All these equipment, all these engines and machines require repair and maintenance. What about our own digestive system? Therefore, it is said in the same extract from Google, I have this to share with you. Fasting is the most effective way to stimulate significant autophagy, typically starting after 16 to 24 hours of fasting. Many of you are already into what is now going around as intermittent fasting. I do agree that many medical people disagree with all this theory. There is a theory among certain medical professionals where they say eat some light snacks every 2 hours. We respect some of those views. Perhaps that approach has its own merits, but a lot of people who have an MBBS, who have an MD, who are very much aware of the processes that go on in the body, have confirmed, have endorsed this view that 14 to 16 hours, 16 to 18 hours of fasting can bring about a very healthy cleanup and repair work. It is said that and look at the interesting part. Diabetes and many other disorders of the human body's functioning can be set right. One can restore one's own health, it appears, by just making some changes in the food we take. In the ancient Upanishads, it was said, Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhihi. Shankaracharya, from the original Upanishad, Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhihi is from the Chandogya Upanishad. At the end of the Narada Sanat Kumara Samvada, we have this statement, perhaps given by Sanat Kumara or perhaps given by Mother Shruti, that is Veda itself, because the dialogue perhaps has had more or less concluded at that point in the 7th chapter, and a couple of things said by the directly from Vedas, and with a lot of love and respect, we refer to Vedas as Mother Shruti. Therefore, what is significance of this mantra or a line, a sentence in the mantra? Ahara Shuddhau Sattva Shuddhihi. Ramanujacharya apparently gives a very direct and limited meaning to ahara. It is no other than the food we eat through the mouth. And he says if the food is pure in several aspects, including the mental state of those who cook the food and mental state of yours when you eat the food and so on. And he confirms or he interprets the Upanishadic mantra, your mind becomes purer and purer. Sattva Shuddhi there means Chitta Shuddhi. In the Vedanta, which is this Chitta Shuddhi is of greatest importance. In one of the videos, Swami Sarvaprayananji makes a case for a meat eating. Not that he asks everybody to eat meat, but he makes a strong plea that one should not unduly or overly criticize meat eating either. And in his own humor, I appreciate that. He says, some people tend to limit their spirituality into a pressure cooker. They limit spirituality into just the kitchen. Spirituality goes beyond many such compartments. Therefore, do not judge anybody on the spiritual scale simply on the basis of meat or vegetarianism. Meat also may be, can be food of some people who are much into spirituality. That's the upshot of what he said, and he is open-minded. He doesn't speak anything without pondering it much. We too respect that. We too agree that in this world, many who ate meat before and ate meat later also, as they got into real serious spirituality, have risen to great heights of spiritual excellence. However, there is an expression in English language, other factors remaining equal. Other, it seems to be in line with good reason that vegetarian food could promote, other factors remaining equal, could promote more sattvic thoughts, more balanced thoughts. In Bhagavad Gita, it is said, Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam. Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam. Sattva, the Sattva guna, if promoted more and more in us, leads to right understanding. It could be of various subjects, what we call aparavidya, but it could also extend to the level of paravidya, that wisdom, that insight, that intuitive grasp of life, of oneself, of everyone else, of the universe, of this creation, call it as you may. Though of special importance is self-knowledge. You could be judgments of yours about yourself. There could be a single thought, I am lagging behind, I am lagging behind. It could be just a single thought of that kind which can weaken you day after day. Whereas another thought, I'm fine no matter what, even though I have failed 100 times, even though I am not as rich as someone else, even though I am not as popular as someone else, even though I am not talented as someone else, so what? I think I am wonderful being in my own way. I will live my life with a smile upon my face. Suppose that kind of thought is there in you, then that makes a very big difference. So, Sattvat Sanjayate Jnanam on a higher level gives such an insight to you, even amidst failures and setbacks and adversity and problems and challenges, that jnana, that intuitive grasp, something that who cares, you have an intuitive grasp that amidst all these problems, I am essentially as divine as those saints and sages. It is not brainwashing. It is not some kind of self-hypnotism. I would say, in the light of Upanishadic wisdom, it is in fact something that goes well with the insight that people draw from a lot of Vedanta study. So, Ahara Shuddha Sattva Shuddhi connects that kind of intelligent operation of your mind with right food being taken. Ramanuja gives the meaning, food means the what you eat. Shankaracharya says it's much more than what you eat with the mouth, what you see, what you read, what you hear. If you read global news or local news for a lot of time, half an hour, 1.5 hour span, and you find it hard to sit and read a spiritual text, you find no time for applying your mind to repetition of God's name or contemplation on some spiritually elevating uh, idea, then you are living on bad food, politics, and all kinds of egoistic rivalries, who killed whom, who destroyed whose property, and there's a whole lot of stuff that can go into us through the newspapers, through the TV channels, through these days podcasts and broadcasts and whatnot. All that is ahara. And if the ahara is not balanced, we must know, we must have some general knowledge, but for the sake of some general knowledge of what's going on in Russia, what's going on in the White House in Washington, D.C., or our own Vidhana Saudha in Bangalore. Suppose we are uh, receiving so much inputs about these topics, but hardly anything about God, about our true nature, which the Vedanta is, then we are consuming lot of bad food in general. Now there is, let's say somebody is having a problem of hypertension. This person has an awareness. I should not take much salt. Recently, I learned from someone who has a very good grasp of food and health by name Mr. Raj Shekhar near Kolar, which is near Bangalore, that for diabetics, even excessive salt is not good. I never knew that before. In my ignorance, I thought to eat any amount of, salty stuff. So I never felt any hesitation in eating some Haldiram namkeen or some such thing, or so many salty savories. But the right diet that brings our blood glucose down includes, Mr. Rajshekar clarifies, based on a lot of study and experimentation, it includes low salt, of course, um, avoiding sugar, avoiding especially white sugar, and so on. So the question is, if taking sugar or not consuming sugar can make a difference to a diabetic, if taking salty stuff or avoiding salty stuff makes a difference to a person with blood pressure problem, how do you say that so many other food items do not matter at all, having their own influences? Therefore, it is worthwhile exercise to find the effect of various food items upon us. To my mind comes another interesting experiment in the 1960s. Professor Richard Alpert and a certain other professor Timothy Leary in Harvard University saw that taking a measured dose of LSD, people more creative. A singer sang better, an artist painted better, a mathematician had great insights into hard problems of maths, and so on. So, rest is history. Some of you know this Richard Alpert later became disciple of Neem Karoli Baba and became known as Ram Das, and he headlong went into spirituality. As a professor of, I guess, psychology or philosophy in Harvard, he took interest in the influence of psychedelic drugs on dimensions of a human personality like creativity, but later yoga, meditation, and devotion. He went back after meeting Neem Karoli Baba in a village called Kainchi that's near Nainital in Uttarakhand, went back to America, and he started, Professor Richard Alpert, he started a foundation called Hanuman Foundation. For the rest of his life, he nurtured and nourished this Hanuman Foundation for spiritual activities. Then there was this case of Dr. Dean Ornish. Dean Ornish, during his college days, where I guess he was actually studying medicine, he was all set to become a doctor, but he was performing so poorly. There is a very famous book of Dean Ornish, thing, heart disease. That's the main proportion of the title, a little longer title. You Google up the reversing heart disease, Dean Ornish, Dean Ornish, Ornish. You will find amazing research done on the effect of yoga, effect of meditation, and then there is a whole chapter on effect of right food to live a happy, balanced life and so on, mature life and so on. And he has given so many recipes. And interestingly, all those recipes, almost 100% of them vegetarian, I guess, or maybe some exceptions, but they resemble Indian cuisine quite a lot. Not fully, but quite a lot. And how his life changed during his um, days as a medical student, he was actually suicidal to focus. He had no self control. His days were highly disorderly. He himself felt ashamed and guilty and very sick about the way he was living. He even thought of committing suicide, if it appears. He has written all that in that book. Then his sister said to him, I am attending these days some programs of an Indian Swami. My dear brother, come once at least and join me. Very unwilling as a man in his 20s those days, sat in one session. And the Swami was no other than a Guru Bhai of our Swami Chinmayananji, Swami Sachidananda, who had also taken sannyas from Swami Shivananda. And in America, Swami Sachidananda is very well known for a certain ashram, yoga will, and a temple called Lotus, Light of Truth Universal Shrine. Truth Universal Shrine. I had the privilege of seeing it, staying one night at that ashram somewhere in some years ago. And this Swami Sachidananda was talking about what yoga can do, what meditation can do, and he Amish was very impacted. His life took a turn. There onward, he did so much, so well in his medical studies, became a into all this research, and as relevant to today or this evening's topic, let me tell you, in his book, there is a big chapter, big section on right food that improves your concentration, your cheerfulness levels, your being more discreet, more, mature in taking decisions. In lot of people suffer from indecision. I'm sure you have heard somebody saying wittily, indigestion is bad, but indecision is worse. Somebody said, indigestion is bad, but indecision is worse. It was remarked very aptly. Bhagavad Gita talks about right food. First of all, right food is not about only what you eat, it is also about how much you eat. The which says yoga happens when you do not go to any extremes. Natyashnatastu yogosti nachaikantam anashnatah nachati swapnashilasya jagrato naiva charjuna. The first half of the shloka, number 16 of chapter 6, says anyone who overeats cannot be a yogi. You can extend it to anyone who talks, sleeps too much, anyone who has too many activities, wants to socialize too much. How can she or he be a yogi? But as related to this evening's topic, it is na ati ashnata. Ashana means eating. Someone who overeats cannot be a yogi. Naja ekantam anashnata. If one eats very less for some reason, maybe out of certain ill-conceived habits, maybe with certain urge to show to people, I don't eat much, all of you eat. This is enough for me. Some kind of show it could be, some kind of belief superimposed on oneself, not based on reason, not based on scientific truths. one eats less than what actually one requires, that person also is said to be disqualified for yoga. Chapter, Bhagavan Sri Krishna talks about sattvic food, rajasic food, and tamasic food. And in simple terms, he doesn't give examples of any cuisine or any particular diet. He doesn't mention particular recipes or particular that Dean Ornish does. You may please study Dean Ornish's work. But over in the Bhagavad Gita, he gives that which increases your lifespan, that has the capacity to make you healthier rather than just satisfying your palate. We could many times go for some fast food. We could go for eating something which is delicious with our tongue likes, and even as a part of our conscience or part of our inner, antakarana says, hey, what is this? This is not nutritious. Take something which is nutritious. I will just eat this. This is so delicious. Then it becomes obviously something that doesn't promote long and healthy life. Ayush sattva balarogya sukha priti vivardhanaha rasya snigdha stira hridyaha ahara satvika priyaha. This word satvika priyaha can be signifying two things. One is those food which is rich in juices, rich in water, and it gives you a certain serenity. What gives us calmness? What gives us serenity? What food gives us a greater alertness? In contrast, which other food makes us feel sleepy? Which other food makes us agitated? The ancient Greeks, I believe, believed, and maybe it is endorsed by many others. Onions, ancient Greeks used to eat onions as an aphrodisiac. An aphrodisiac is something that increases your sexual appetite. And those men who or women who wanted to arouse certain sexual desire in them would eat a lot of onions. No wonder in many ashrams in India, onions and garlic are not much preferred. They are avoided also. So, what Indians believed in, even today practiced, seem to have some parallel. So, we must find out after reading Sri Krishna's words, what is it that gives me a longer life, not just long in years, but in energy levels, in cheerfulness, and so on. You and I want to live long cheerfully, not dragging on, not pulling on, not with the ailments, not sick. You want to be fit. In fact, Dean Ornish in his book distinguishes between fitness and what he calls, there's another word he uses for athletic, some word he uses, athletic excellence. Athletic excellence, he uses some other word, that is to imply you are being able to run fast. You are being able to maybe, athletes do high jump, long jump, javelin throw, shot put, races. And that is not needed for most of us. There may be many people who don't even look very fit. They may have a little of belly. Their shape may not be all that handsome or impressive. But you talk to them, they don't have any, back pain or joint pain or headache. They are very cheerful. And Dean Ornish talks of such people. They are fit. They have fitness. They may not have. So that is worth thinking about. You and I don't aim at looking good or some kind of figures, what should be the waist length and so on. That has some importance in some areas, If you are contesting some beauty contest, there are some contests for both for women and men. You want to become Mr. Bombay or Miss Bombay or some such thing. The criteria are very different. But to be fit, to be for 18 hours a day, let's say, you are agile, you are moving about vibrantly, you are sensitive. When you listen very carefully to the other person. And then, having listened to the other person properly, you speak. And in your speaking also, there is a stamp of alertness, relevance, not repeating the same thing again and again. You speak things in a way that really benefits the other person. You touch the essence of the topic the other person and you are discussing. That is called physical and mental fitness. Sri Krishna says the Rajasic Ahara and Bhagavad Gita is a spiritual text. It's not a text of health or diet as such. But the connection between food and spirituality makes Sri Krishna say to Arjuna and through him all of us about food kinds of food. Katvamla lavanatyushna तीक्ष्ण रूक्ष विदाहिनः आहाराः राजस्य श्रेष्ठाः दुःख शोकामय प्रदाः. Whiplashes, the so-called rajasic food, which may be tasty in a certain state of mind, but it actually makes us more extrovert, more outgoing, more, you know, yes, dukkha shoka amaya. Dukkha is sorrow. Shoka is also grief. Amaya is some disease and so on. I was saying about um, how Satvika Priyaha can mean both ways. I'm drawing from Pujya Swami Chidananda. He used to say, it is right to say from one angle of view, the Sattvic people like this kind of food. And it is also right to say, those who eat this kind of food become Sattvic. Does Sattvic nature make us go for a particular type of food? Or does particular type of food boost the sattva in us? And Swami Chidananda in his commentary has said, it is true in both ways. They are mutually supportive. Maybe you become Sattvic thanks to your participation in spiritual program, with saintly people. You become broad-minded. You become less reactive. Your impulsiveness comes down. And as this improvement in your behavior has taken place, you will start liking certain food which you were not liking before. And it can happen the other way around also. See, because you changed your food habits, you started liking satsangs which you were not doing before. So what leads to what? Well, we say they are mutually connected. And to complete the reference to Bhagavad Gita in 17th chapter, in the 10th verse rather, 10th shloka, Yatayamam Gatarasam Puti Paryushitam Chayat Uchishtamaki Chamedhyam Bhojanam Tamasapriyam. And we have said you many a time we eat something which is not fresh at all, which already has lost a lot of its nutritious contents. But our taste is such because of this tamasic state of mind. We love it, we enjoy it, we say, I prefer to have this, and so on. What a pity. Teachers like Jaggi Vasudev even say, don't cook food so much, he says. There's some truth in that. We sometimes cook food so much that lot of nutrients, because all said and done, even the vegetarians among us, you know, we are living beings and we draw life from vegetables which have life in them. So there is a saying in Sanskrit, Jivo Jivena Jivati. Life subsists on life. None of us can eat stones or food that we eat, even if it is vegetables and fruits, have life in them. But if you cook them more than what is optimum, much of their life is gone. You have killed them before consuming them. Yaki Vasudev has given some powerful talks on right food. So, food and spirituality. Food affects our mind, and mind affects what we prefer for us. Therefore, the idea of the kind of food and the quantity also, Krishna has said, overeating is a problem. When they asked Sri Ramana Maharshi, what is the best rule for living in such a way that promotes self-inquiry? Self-inquiry is a different ball game. The actual sadhana, or in Shankara's Vedanta, on pure self, on the pure self. Study the Upanishads, get a good idea of what they say about who we truly are, and through some manana, sort out the doubts and confusions, and then dwell on that wonderful understanding you have, thank God, received. Dwell on that understanding. That is called dhyana. That is the high plateau spiritual practice. But devotees asked Sri Ramana Maharshi, plateau spiritual practice, what is the best rule for daily life? And can you believe? Maharshi's answer was, Sattvic food in moderate quantity is the best rule of all rules. Interestingly, he did not even talk about yoga or pranayama or paropakara or karma yoga or puja or japa or no. He said, ensure that your food is sattvic, and another qualifier, in moderate quantity. Don't take sattvic food also in excessive measure. It can cause tamas or rajas rise in you. And the same Sri Ramana Maharshi had said elsewhere that if you can be moderate in food, sleep, and speech, many of us don't speak enough. This I will tell him later. Many of us participate in meetings and keep our mouth shut. And later on, we tell the secretary or president, I want to tell you, the president or secretary of some committee says to us, you were in the meeting, why didn't you say that? I didn't feel comfortable telling it in front of others. Why? Are you a coward? What is the complex that you have? Why don't you say it when all hear? Now why do you come and whisper in my to influence me? The president or secretary or the office bearer may ask us. Then again we shrug. No, but I am telling you, please attend to this. So many times we don't talk when we must talk. That's the problem some of us have. And then there are others where, or in whose case, they talk when they should keep their mouth shut. Then they say, I am a straightforward person. I am a very, fearless person. Say, I call a spade a spade. I am going to tell this plain truth. Oh, okay, namaste. All those are wonderful qualities. But yesterday you said something which hurt so many people unnecessarily. In place of your so-called straightforwardness or fearlessness, you should have had a little bit of wisdom to keep your mouth shut, because basically it was none of your business. You didn't have to speak anything. You could have expressed their views, but blah, 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 you go on talking. So, interestingly, Maharshi Ramana said, be moderate in speech, in food, and in sleep. When you feel that the body has had enough rest, get up. Because whenever we sleep more than what is required, it is not the requirement of the body. It is the requirement of an agitated mind, an escapist mind. The body has had enough rest. In fact, you are fresh. The mind says how comfortable the blanket is. And the mind says, oh, I don't want to go meet that or this person. I want to keep away from this work or that interaction. So, some amount of escapism from real life is making you lie more on the bed. That won't help you. Now, coming back to food, what I wanted to interestingly, in Ramana's advice on what facilitates higher spiritual, contemplative, or inquiring exercises, that includes right food. In this way, I have shared a few thoughts on food and spirituality. I hope to come third time on this topic after some time and share with you what I truly believe. He asked, what about garlic? I myself take garlic here and there. After all, sometimes the rule seems to be in everything is okay in moderation. Garlic is said to help bring cholesterol down, especially some kinds of garlic. Garlic can, I believe, help in better digestion. It has its merits, but in orthodox circles, other than onion, they avoid garlic also. While onion as an aphrodisiac, in the case of garlic, it is supposed to be causing an increase in tamas. Maybe it purifies certain systems in your body, but it causes a little tamas, means a little inertia, a little insensitivity, little tendency to shut your eyes when some injustice is going on, a little tendency not to speak up when you had to. It's not just laziness, sleeping, and what needs to be said at the right time. That is tamas. What held you back in doing the right thing at the right time is tamas. And any other questions I will see in the time given for question answer. Thank you all, and thanks to Vani and Vasudev for organizing this. Namaste.
Thank you, Swamiji. That was a very unbiased talk, we can say. Fairly placing both sides of the food issue before us. How something helped somebody, but what the scriptures say about it, or what Bhagavan Sri Ramana Maharshi says, or what Sri Krishna says, what Chandogya Upanishad says. So on one side, we got the spiritual inputs from the scriptures. On the other side, we got scientific inputs and inputs of people who have experimented on diet and even drugs, etc., non-vegetarianism. So I found the unbiased nature of the talk very appealing, not leaning towards any side, but presenting to us facts as you have discovered them. So we offer our pranams to Swamiji. We also offer our Pushpravrushti clap, angel showering blossoms upon the enlightened. We throw open the forum for questions. Tomorrow we will be having a talk in Kannada by Srimati Katyayani ji. It will be on Satya Diksuchi Pratyayagalu. Satya Darshana Diksuchi Prakriya. So this is a series where she has been sharing different prakriyas with us. Vedantic Prakriyas, and she will be sharing another kind of Prakriya which is very useful for sadhaks on the path of Atma Vichara. Now we throw open the session to Swamiji for answering questions.
Hari Om Swamiji.
Hari Om. ಹೇಳಿ.
Swamiji, ನಾವು ಫುಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಸ್ಪಿರಿಚುವಾಲಿಟಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ನನಗೆ ಒಂದು ಎಪಿಸೋಡ್ ನೆನಪಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ನಾವು ರಿಷಿಕೇಶಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ವಾಮಿ ದಯಾನಂದ ಸರಸ್ವತಿ ಆಶ್ರಮಕ್ಕೆ ಹೋಗಿದ್ವಿ.
If possible, say in English. Many people here.
ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಒಂದು ಸತ್ಸಂಗ ಇತ್ತು. When we talk about food and spirituality, I remember an episode. We'd been to Dayananda Saraswati Ashram in Rishikesh, and we had satsang with him. So before that, one group amongst us, they were talking about this eating non-veg food in the spiritual sadhaks. We are all engaged in the spiritual. Is it good to eat non-veg food? Somebody was saying, yes, there is no problem eating non-veg food, and but is the counter argument. Then they decided to put this question to Swamiji. They went in the satsang. One person asked, Swamiji, what is your opinion about eating non-veg food? Immediately he reacted. Why do you put this question to me? You ask your dietitian. You ask your dietitian. You ask your dietitian. If he asks you, eat.
Yeah. I appreciate that answer. See, we people who are knowledgeable in scriptures don't know diet and other things much. So dietitians are better people who have studied the effect of particular food on people. So someone has asked about milk products and seafood. Over there also I would say the same. Dietitians who have seen cases of those who have taken milk products and who have avoided, who have taken seafood and then who avoided, what was the difference, what was the effect, and so on. Someone else has asked a question, is mindful eating a spiritual practice? Once you bring mindfulness, it is spiritual practice. In fact, in a hurry, the questioner, instead of calling me Swamiji, has called me Swimming Ji. So Swimming Ji, no problem. Being with mindfulness makes one a Swamiji. So whether it's cooking or eating or swimming or walking, the moment you bring mindfulness, you are getting closer to the true nature. True nature is awareness. Mindfulness is doing anything with awareness. Opposite of it is being mechanical, act like a machine. Yeah, so it's both a wellness trend and a mild spiritual practice.
Swamiji, I am Dr. Venkatachalapati. I heard every lecture and I am only the put that same question, seafood and this one. But
Welcome.
We have an association like Vegetable Association. They recommend this, especially not milk products like buttermilk, butter, or this one. So what are the preparations are prepared from them is very good. And also the other one, I put seafood, no? People consider seafood as a vegetarian and because they doesn't have any bones. So that will not come under the non-vegetarian. So they recommend this both, I mean, forgotten paneer, buttermilk, but whatever this, even ghee, butter, it is advised. Limited, as you are telling, it is limited or a limited scope, you can take it. But seafood also they consider here. But they practice whole food of plant origin. They prepare only that, especially even if it is a Jain or but they add this especially, and also for protein they add soya. Soya is best protein for the vegetarians.
Yeah, correct. Soya.
soya and its products.
True, true. Instead of cows or buffalo milk, get everything made with soya. Yeah.
That
I
was
think yeah, we may try many of them, and it works well. We must go for it.
thank you, Swamiji.
Your questions were very stimulating.
Does anyone have any other questions for Swamiji?
May we request Swamiji to conduct a short meditation. If there are no questions, then we can.
Pranam Swamiji.
Yes.
I left a question in the chat box.
Chat box, one I saw. I think I answered that. Can you read that question you left?
Is mindful eating a spiritual practice or
I answered that. I said, yes, it is.
it is? Okay.
I answered saying, anything you do with mindfulness is right away a spiritual exercise of some order. I answered saying, once you bring mindfulness, whether it is gardening or during gardening, during washing dishes, during eating, and yeah, you said about mindful eating. In any activity, even someone like me is giving a lecture, if a speaker like me is mindful, then it becomes a really spiritual exercise. Even as a certain word, a phrase is about to slip from my mouth, if I am mindful, I will look at it with 10 times more alertness, whether it is appropriate, whether that expression, that word will have a beneficial influence on the audience, or am I showing off my vocabulary? I'm showing off what books I have read. You know, only in mindfulness we can separate the grain from the chaff. If something is truly relevant, it is going to benefit the audience. The mindful speaker lets it, lets that kind of expression go slip out from the mouth. The mindful person will hold it back if she or he smells even a little something foul. Ah, I am now trying to show off my learning. Then the mindfulness keeps us. So mindfulness promotes viveka. Viveka is seeing right and wrong, distinguish them, and opting for the right. Mindfulness promotes that. Therefore, mindful eating is indeed a spiritual practice. Those who question also sometimes go tangentially, and the speaker has to request them, please, what is your question? You are going on, they give a lecture. Some others, today no one has done it, but some people, in the name of asking a question, they go very long because they lack mindfulness. So then organizers or the speaker have to request them. So mindfulness makes us behave with more viveka. And viveka and vairagya are the most valuable tools, most valuable means to go higher in inquiry. Yes, in one sentence, mindful eating is indeed a spiritual practice.
Thank you so much.
Welcome. All right. So is it time for some meditation?
Yes, Swamiji.
All right. Please sit straight on a chair or otherwise. Ahara. Ahriyate iti ahara. What is taken in is food. Not only the food taken in through the mouth, but forms and colors taken in by eyes, sounds praise or insult taken in by ears, smell and touch and taste taken in by other three sense organs. All that we consume is food. In this very short meditation, ask yourself, am I keeping a watch on what I consume, what I take in? Am I vigilant over what comes to me in the form of food or in some gossip? A few friends start gossiping and lot of unhealthy stuff tends to enter our ears and then our mind. Do I have the ability to stop them or walk away or screen it out? Ask yourselves the question, how alert am I? Be with that question. Don't answer hastily. Be with that question for a couple of minutes. Am I alert as varieties of things enter me? Am I alert? Om Namah Shivaya. Hari Om.
Oh,
Loka samasta sukhino bhavantu